Hello everybody and welcome back to MTech. Today we are going to discuss... Restart that.
It's okay. Beep!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Sunday Drive. Today is the promised ownership review video. We're going to discuss the coolest ownership experience with his Mk7.5 Golf GTI and the few months that he's owned it. Cool, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. Well, I'm about to hit 5,000 miles. Let's try it again. Well, I'm about to hit about 5,000 miles, and I've owned this Golf GTI for about 4 months now, and there's been mostly good. Actually, a lot of good. I don't really have any bad things to say about this car, which is which is unusual because I really like to be picky about the cars I drive, but this one doesn't really give me much to complain about.
It's a really nice car.
It's a very nice car. Yeah, no, it's great.
This thing.
I think a lot of what I have to say is subjective in terms of my ownership experience, because this Golf GTI seems to be a little quirky, and this is not a good representation of all Mk7.5 Golf GTIs, which is something to note.
Except the fuel lines.
Except the fuel line rattle, yeah, you know, Volkswagen, you gotta get some zip ties, man.
Yeah, they don't know what zip ties are. No, sorry. Securing fasteners.
There you go, right. That's gonna probably about $35 a month.
Yeah, that's what they charge.
Okay, so we'll start with the good. A couple things I like about this car. I love the size. It is the perfect size. This car, it's small, but it's the right kind of small. And I'm in college right now where space is limited, and you know, fighting for parking on campus is always a nightmare every single day to get to work or class. And this thing is perfect. It's big on the inside, small on the outside, and that's exactly what you look for in a hot hatchback, I think. Because you look at the Honda Civic Si, that's a big car now. That's a big sedan. Even the Hyundai Veloster, that's becoming a big car.
About the same size, I think.
But this thing, I just feel like it fits into parking spots way better. I mean, it like when I park in a parking garage, I've got miles of room if I back up all the way. It's fantastic. It's just got such a small footprint, and I really appreciate that.
From a driving perspective, I think that this car is the perfect size. It's not too big, it's not too small. It weighs just a hair over 3,000 pounds, which for a modern car is, I would say, not that big. It's just fun to toss into corners, honestly. It's just a lot of fun. It's a good size, not too big, not too small, just like a cool set. It has enough space to kind of put your stuff in it, and honestly, rear seat room, where he's sitting now, I'm 6'2" male, plenty of headroom in the back, plenty of leg room, like even in the front too. Like I could fit in here with the helmet and no trouble.
Oh yeah,
and
fantastic.
I'm a tall guy.
It doesn't feel small, you know? I moved out of a very large sedan straight into this car. You know, I had a Toyota Avalon before this, and I don't really miss the room because it's got a hatch. I can put all my groceries back there. I can move a little bit of furniture, and I can take all my friends with me. You know, even if they're 6'1", which is fantastic. And I don't think you can say that about something like a Hyundai Veloster.
The Hyundai is a little more crammed.
Yeah.
And especially like a Fiesta. It's funny. It's actually funny you mentioned the Hyundai because so we both experienced the Hyundai Veloster and it's a fantastic driving car. But from a usability standpoint, I think this car is easily one of the best among modern hot hatches. Even like a Focus ST, I feel like I have more room behind this than in that car.
No, I agree.
As they have these like big bucket seats, and I think it just takes up a lot of room. I don't know how they use the space, but I think from practicality standpoint and space, this is by far one of the better ones on the market.
I agree. Something else I really like is just the way it drives. Just the way it took me a while to get used to it. The Golf GTI is a car that I think, if you're not used to Volkswagen or German cars or the way they kind of operate, this is a car where you kind of have to learn the pace a little bit. But once you start figuring out the pace, it can be really rewarding. This car really encourages you to kind of slow down your shifts, rev match in a modern car, and kind of force yourself how to figure all that stuff out, because I've never driven anything this modern in my life, pretty much. This is my first taste of a modern manual transmission car, and it's a big learning curve, but once you figure it out, like I said, it's super rewarding. And it's super nice just having a sporty car that you don't have to bang shift everywhere. And I think bang shifting is part of the fun for sure, but when you're just trying to get to work or get to class, and you still want to have an enjoyable driving experience, so when you just want to have a fun daily driver that you don't have to go, Vin Diesel or Paul Walker mode everywhere, this is a perfect car. Thank you, sir.
So the car is very potent, as you just saw. We did a full driving video. You click up here or here, wherever editor Sunny decides to put it, to go watch that. But to kind of counterpoint what Akul said, when I hopped in this car, I knew how to drive it immediately. I think it really just depends on the amount of experience you have in newer manual cars, and honestly, you have a lot of experience in Porsches, BMWs, Audis, any other German cars especially, it's gonna feel at home. I think the shifter is actually almost the same as Volkswagen's dating back all the way to the Mark IV. I'm not totally sure, fact check that, but it feels great. The one thing for me personally related to the shifting that I wasn't as huge a fan of was the amount of rev hang there was. All modern cars have a little bit, but in this car it's particularly bad. But overall, it's, in my opinion, very fantastic driving car. You want to talk a little bit about the daily ability of this car?
Sure. The interior is a fantastic place to be. And this is, you know, a big selling point for the GTI. It's a lot nicer in here than it is in a Focus ST. And I love Focus STs and Fiesta STs, don't get me wrong, but this is a much nicer interior. Everything's soft touch, everything's, you know, assembled pretty well. There, you have your fair share of creaks and rattles, and that is also, you know, something I was told before I bought this car. I was told to expect that, so it was no surprise to me. So be ready for that if you're interested in one of these. But we have plaid seats. We have plaid seats, and that makes everything okay, in my opinion. It doesn't matter how many creaks you have in your car if you have plaid seats. We also have an excellent sound system for a base model, because I didn't get the Fender audio. This is a base Volkswagen sound system as far as I'm concerned, and it sounds great. No complaints there. The infotainment, it's very basic, it's very limited.
It's enough.
It does the job. I have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I have Bluetooth. I have connectivity, everything you could imagine. I have a little display in the gauge cluster. That stuff is fantastic. Honestly, for a base model in 2020, I would expect a little bit more. Another thing I love about this car is the fuel economy. I mean, I'm averaging city, little bit of highway, about 25 miles per gallon, which is awesome. Highway, this thing gets 30 all day long with a cruise control set at 75 miles an hour, which is also fantastic. And it takes regular fuel, which is a fantastic thing because a lot of high performance hatchbacks don't. So that makes me a happy camper.
It's either or. I think when you get to the Golf R or the Type R or the RS Focus, you know, I think that's when you have to use premium. They might be optional too, I don't know. I know the Focus ST you can choose. I'm sure the Civic you can choose.
Right. Volkswagen people, don't yell at me for running regular fuel. It says 87 on the gas door, so
yeah,
it's
not a BMW. You're not an Audi.
Stop typing the comments.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
hear you. I can hear your keyboard.
Oh, you got to get your 3-wheel horsepower.
Yeah, literally.
Hey, we did it for the one video. We did it for the hot take.
We did, and honestly,
I don't think it felt that different.
I think it made it slower because we had a whole tank of fuel in the car, making us heavier.
Yeah, and there were two of us. And
so we were definitely. I should have just left the quarter tank in there.
Yeah, actually, we're gonna now talk about some cons of the car because a lot of that community stemmed from how great they drive, but also the issues that they have, like the little quirks and stuff. What have you experienced, like day to day?
Right, so
fuel line rattle's got to be on that list. I know
that's
that
the first thing
off.
I was going to talk about, man. So a lot of Volkswagen Audi products have this issue. On my car specifically, my fuel lines, which run kind of on the passenger side of the car, kind of towards the dashboard and underneath the seat, they rattle, and it's very annoying and it's very loud. It's audible even with the radio on. They rattle at idle. They rattle around 1,000 RPM and around 2,000 RPM on acceleration and deceleration, and it's so annoying. And I've actually taken it to the dealership, and they told me it was within tolerance and it was normal and it was how the car left the factory when it was built in Mexico, and that is very frustrating. I've also talked to Audi techs who told me the same thing, and they say a fix that the dealer will offer is spraying foam to kind of tighten up the tolerances, and I think that's, you know, ridiculous, frankly.
It's a fire hazard.
Yeah, this is not something that you should, you know, really have to deal with, especially on a car that costs this much money. But alas, you know, it is Volkswagen Golf base model fuel rails probably. So what can you expect? But very annoying. Something I'm not too happy with. The biggest con you'll see on this list, which says something about this car. Moving on, something else I don't like is the transmission on the car. And that includes the clutch feel. There is no clutch feel. It's very vague. It's very German, is what I've learned. The clutch kind of feels different every day. This car really hates cold weather, and I know that all manuals kind of get a little iffy when it's cold out. But this thing, you know, on cold mornings, it's like shifting through molasses. I mean, I'm dragging the shifter through the synchros even when the car is up to temperature. And it is very annoying. And my local dealer says it could be the shifter being misaligned. So we're going to look into that a little further, and I'm sure we'll get an update on that when we figure that out. But nonetheless, very annoying. I also have been getting kicked out of gear intermittently. For example, I'll be in a parking lot trying to leave my parking spot, try to go into first, clicks me back into neutral a couple times. You know, I've had instances where my car just won't go into a gear. Like I'll be doing a second to third shift, and it'll just reject third completely, and I'll just go back to second and wait a couple minutes and then go into third. Again, sounds like a shifter alignment issue, so something that can be resolved, but not something that you should have to resolve at 18,000 miles, which is where I'm currently at. So,
in the car's defense, this was a lease trade-in, so for all we know, the other guy could have modified it, took the short shifter as an example, took it out, and then didn't adjust it, because if you put a short shifter in these cars, you have to adjust the linkage.
Correct.
So he might have not done that, or he may have just been really hard with it. Who's to say? He bought it 3 years used.
Not blaming it all on the car, because it's a used car, so I cannot blame it all on the car, but just something that I'm unhappy with.
If you've had any similar experiences, comment down below and let us know what your fix was.
Yes, please. I need all the help I can get. Please.
Yeah, the sun visor clip. That one was also funny.
Yeah.
And the trim back there.
That's peanuts, yeah.
That was under warranty.
Let's talk about the handbrake. I gotta talk about the handbrake. Basically, immediately when I bought the car, I noticed the handbrake kept popping up as I was driving. You know, I'd put it down, and it wouldn't stay down. It would just kind of bounce back up. And, you know, the car would yell at me randomly while I'm driving that my handbrake was on. And, you know, I took it into the dealership, and it turns out the cables were all stretched out and just kind of needed to be tightened up. So it was no big deal. It's covered under warranty. That's great. But very annoying. Again, I bought this car CPO. It shouldn't have left the dealership with that issue. So I don't know if the previous owner was just kind of doing handbrake turns in the parking lot before.
Might have been Vin Diesel, Paul Walkering.
Yeah, he might have been Paul Walkering this car. So again, I'm not going to blame the car on that one, because, you know, I seem to be the only person really who's having that issue. But it's fixed, so we're not going to worry about that.
Yeah, I was under warranty.
Just
it feels really good now.
Oh yeah, it feels great now, once it was fixed. Just something that happened that kind of TO'd me, because it happened like a week after I bought the car.
So another problem with these cars, and I referenced it earlier, the engine has, in stock format, the stock equipment, has too much movement in if you power shift it or, you know, drop the clutch or just kind of drive it hard and not smoothly, which normally wouldn't be an issue, except there's a bunch of rev hang. So if you do it really fast, like 1-2, grab your gear, shift it really quickly, don't let the revs fall, try to spin the tires, your engine will rock back and forth too much, and it'll actually rock to the point where it'll smack the firewall, which is kind of frustrating, because you, on top of there being a lot of rev hang, you can't just throw it into gear and shift it quickly. So you do really have to wait for it to drop. There is a fix for it. I think what they call like a dog bone mount.
There are a lot of fixes for it. People often recommend a dog bone mount as well as engine mounts. And a lot of companies offer dog bones mounts. ECS Tuning, 034 Motorsports, Unitronic, great companies, they all offer dog bone mounts, and it just kind of helps stiffen up some of that movement between the engine and the transmission.
We've been on the freeway for a while now, and you guys might be wondering, where are we going? Well, let's show you. We grabbed the Miata. We wanted to pull it out for the season. It's now drop top weather. We magically changed clothes. A cool, you got a hat.
I have a hat and a shirt, and it is beautiful and sunny outside right now. So we thought we would bring the Miata up as the daily for the next month or so and just kind of see how life is like, because this car has never been dailied, at least not in my ownership. So
you know, it needs to get driven.
Yeah, it'll be good to get it out of the garage. It'll probably be the first time it sees rainfall, which I'm a little nervous about, because, you know, original Miata top, a little leaky, lemon squeaky.
Well, we'll catch you in the next one, everyone.